I guess I better go ahead and talk about this because Bungie just announced that they will be introducing Black at Bungie. And what is Black at Bungie? At Bungie, we want everyone to feel that their identity is welcome. It's our core values and manifest in the things we make, in the ways we communicate and interact with our fans, and crucially, in a way we run our studio. It means recognizing and welcoming different points of view and lifting up unrepresented voices. This is an ongoing concern and not something that is ever complete. Rather than it's an effort that we strive to improve over time through input from Bungie employees from all over the company. The latest example of this effort is to introduce the inclusion clubs as part of Bungie's culture. Earlier this year, the first inclusion club, Black at Bungie, was formed with the goal of celebrating and uplifting black employees at our studio. Black at Bungie Inclusion Club has been on the vanguard of not only setting an example of what inclusion club can be for Bungie employees, but also helping to facilitate and navigate vital conversations during the pivotal moment in our modern society. Modern society. Sorry. To create a created and powered by Bungie employees, inclusion clubs, ICs, are groups that exist and connect those of similar cultural backgrounds, and those who wish to connect as supportive allies. Inclusion clubs are also resources within Bungie to provide culturally relevant perspectives, advice, and ideas on everything from organizational culture to products we create. And of course, they're going to do a Bungie Diversity Committee, or BDC, or Big Dick Community. Sorry, sorry, I had to make that joke, but yeah, you get the gist of what they're trying to do here. They're trying to get diversity hires into their jobs. And here's the thing that bothers me about this, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about this issue. Before you understand, this is nothing new. This is not, Bungie is not the only company that did this. I want to go ahead and show you another company that did this. You may recall Microsoft had done this a while back. Now keep this in mind. I want to go ahead and talk about this issue about blacks at Xbox. Remember that marketing campaign that they did? Now Bungie's doing the same exact thing. But here's the thing that bothers me about this is that they're using the fists and the lightning thing. And I noticed that it looks like something that the Nazis created back in the days. And the fists and the lightning thing, it just seems kind of weird. You're trying to create the blacks at Bungie, but you're using like lightning and fists in the thing. Now, keep this in mind. You may recall there was an issue with Microsoft doing the exact same thing when they did the whole blacks at Xbox thing. Now, I do recall a news report that happened a while back. Let me see if I can remember. This is what happened. A Mixer employee had an experience over there, and of course he worked for Microsoft, which was owned by Microsoft owned Mixer, which was a streaming platform back in the days, which no longer is around because they weren't making much money off it, so they had to just bury it. Now, this is what he had to say about this. So I've gone back and forth, and this is what he said about this. So I've gone back and forth, and I wanted to share this information. I debated doing a video and just letting my emotions come across raw and unfiltered, but I believe the best way to share it is to write how I feel. I worked at Microsoft for 2 years starting in 2017. In 2018, I relocated in Seattle to work on the Mixer team. I was beyond happy and anxious to have the ability to finally work in the gaming industry. The flip side of all of this is crazy. This experience was the worst I ever had professionally, and it's all due to racism. And he kind of goes into all these points, which I'll link down below for you guys so you can understand, because Million Lee kind of discussed this issue, and he kind of points out like 3 reasons why. And I'm only going to give you guys one point that he writes down and says, I was one of the only black people working at Mixer during the tenure. While at the conference, I was pulled aside and told the reason I was hired is because I'm street smart. I am street smart. Sorry. And yeah, that's what he said. And this is the first thing that popped up into my head at the time was affirmative action. And I believe I was only hired to meet the diversity goal because I was black. Anyways, I decided to brush it off and let it go. And he was being, professional about it because he was trying to bite the bullet because of what they said. And a lot of people don't seem to understand. Microsoft tried to do this whole virtue signaling of, see, we have diversity. See, we hired a whole bunch of black people. And what he said here is what kind of made me, I'm just going to skip the rest of the stuff that he talks about. This is why I haven't seen this is why you haven't seen me in many streams. These 4 points are the reason. I do not and will not support Mixer. Now I have a lot of close friends at Mixer, and I don't want you to think they are all bad, but one of the main people calling the shots has zero respect for any of the partners not on their platform. She believes you and all are slaves that she owns in the future and content. I stood up to her because I refuse to let anyone be classified as such, and I hope no partners feel bad I did so. I do not care about how big the company is or their market share. If we do not have the same values, if you cannot be intelligent enough to know racism isn't tolerated, then I will not work for you or your company. All in all, this was my experience. And I'm sorry if I can't really read very well, but the point is, Microsoft didn't really care. It is a company, and they don't care about racism and discrimination, especially when there's a lot of stuff that happened at Microsoft, especially when hundreds of Microsoft employees urged the company to cut ties with Seattle, call for mayor resignation. More than 250 employees sent emails urging the company leadership to take action in response to nationwide protests for radical racial justice over the past 2 weeks. There was also the fact that there was a lot of lawsuits that happened, especially Microsoft's openly questioned their value of diversity, and a lot of people are talking about this. And you keep this in mind, there's been a lot of things that happen, like Microsoft defends diversity efforts after Fed's alleged discrimination. Now, keep this in mind, there's been a lot of questions on what's going on. And right now, Bungie's doing the same exact thing. And basically, I'm going to point out something. They're going to claim that we hired all these people for the sake of diversity, but internally in their business side, they will do discrimination. And I'm just trying to warn you guys because of the fact that blacks at Bungie is not a good idea. Because really, you're just hiding, you just want to hide the fact that you're a company that's trying to do business and everything in order to look good. And that's kind of what they're trying to do. They're trying to look good so that people can buy their products or try to apply for a job down there, because they want people to work down there in order to look good. And that's kind of the thing that I don't like about certain companies that do this type of thing, because really they probably are not going to hire. They'll probably hire a few people just to be on the safe side, and really they're not really trying to hire diversity. They're trying to hire people so that they can look good. And at times, not every company is going to look good, because if Bungie's going to do the same exact thing as Microsoft, they're really not going to do a good job of hiding. They're probably going to hide some of the stuff that they're trying to avoid, like BLM, for example. They're trying to avoid BLM, and they don't want BLM to attack them. And that's kind of the biggest fear that I feel, that this is the reason why Bungie's doing this, because there's a lot of things that they mentioned here, especially what was going on. And looking at this, I do feel bad that people don't seem to look into this very deeply. Why are people doing this? It's a way to look good on paper, because that's what they are. Because they say that they care about diversity, but really it's just paper diversity. They just want to look good on paper. That's what they do. That's what they want to do on the flip side of things. And of course, they're doing the exact same thing. How much you want to bet about a few years or a month or 6 months by now, someone's going to call them out? And that's kind of what's going to happen if they do this type of campaign, because this kind of thing doesn't make them look good. Because if you noticed, Microsoft says they're for diversity and all this stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on with Microsoft, especially when over gender discrimination. Especially that's kind of what Microsoft did. Female employee sues Microsoft over alleged gender discrimination and sexual harassment. Now, this happened back in 2018, and there's a lot of stuff that happened. And this is kind of weird about a lot of stuff that you could see happen. Especially the women at Microsoft said is a toxic workplace, and this is nothing new. And you think when they do the whole blacks at Xbox, to try to, because this is all PR, this is all public relations, this is something that people need to understand. They're trying to look good. They're trying to impress people that they're the good company, but really they are not. And of course, when I pointed out about the whole blacks at Xbox thing, and of course the Mixer employee who worked for Microsoft, he felt that he was being used, and yet they're saying that they're helping the community, they're helping the black community because they care, when really they don't. And that's the issue that I have with this whole thing. When you try to virtue signal and market yourself, you're asking for a lot of trouble, and that means a lot of that trouble goes into that issue. And the fact that some of these companies are only here to make money. And that's kind of what they are. And I understand they are a business. But at times when you try to do this, you're only just hiding the problems and issues that happen in everyday life. And your only way to do this is to market yourselves as the good guys when really you're not. And that's what I'm saying here, and that's what I'm trying to tell people and warn people about, because this is the type of issues that should be discussed. Anyways, guys, leave your thoughts down below and tell me what you guys think of this, because really, this is not something that looks good for Bungie, and why Bungie should never do what Microsoft did, because Bungie's about to make the same mistake as Microsoft did. So anyways, guys, I'm going to go. Bye-bye. So take care.